What's up, everyone? You're watching Kicked Back. And Liam, it's been a while since I've been on the show. Guys, there was for me a little bit of a health scare during the holidays, so I had to take some time off and I completely unplugged from everything. And when I got back into my football news, I was shocked, especially when I looked at the Premier League standings. I'm like, what did I miss? Like 2 weeks off, and I felt like I took 3 years off. So lots to catch up on. Liam, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, it's Premier League came back with a bang, to say the least. Chelsea, 10 points away from Champions League, 10 points away from relegation. So
what the hell?
That's something. Yeah, I don't know. Like that is. I mean, we got it on our topics to talk about today. But
you know what? Tee us off. We'll start with Chelsea because that honestly blew my mind. I saw the score in the FA Cup between Manchester City. I heard that Manchester City didn't even have the big boys out. Yeah. And Chelsea played like shit.
Yeah, Chelsea were bad. They were very, very bad. And they played them in the league just before that too. And they were okay. They kind of got it in a bit tough because Sterling got injured 5 minutes into the game. Then Pulisic got hurt as well, like 20 minutes in, I think. And all of a sudden, you've lost two of your starters right away. So that's a massive disadvantage. And then you don't have anyone to really bring on. And City just managed to outclass them in the end. I know it was only 1-0, but at the end of the day, like big teams are going to win those games. And right now, Chelsea is on a big team. Like the squad, the strength of the squad just isn't there for me at the moment.
You know, I feel for the players because obviously they're coming out of the World Cup and a tough schedule, you know, so I understand injuries, but I'm so torn with Chelsea because obviously they sacked Tuchel. Graham Potter comes in, a coach that's highly respected by a lot of very successmal managers at the moment. So everyone's like, okay, maybe, you know, Graham Potter can get the job done. Now they're in 10th place and everyone's either, because I've been reading how Chelsea fans feel and fans are divided. Either they're saying Graham Potter's not tough enough for this job. They almost want like a Ten Hag who has like no remorse for anything and just discipline. And we're going to run you for 15 kilometers after a game. And they don't think that Graham Potter has that versus it's not a Graham Potter issue. He needs more time and we can't keep sacking managers. It's the culture of this club at this moment where you have talented players like Pulisic, where I said at times at the World Cup, Pulisic is a very talented player, but he lacks that desire to be aggressive for a full 90 minutes. Yeah. And I wonder if that's happening at Chelsea. So I don't know if it's a culture problem, if you can't just resort to sacking your manager at all times, if Graham Potter needs to kind of change the way he's been managing this team. But Chelsea is in this weird spot right now, which again, this was a team that shocked me the most when I saw the standings. Yeah, like for me, like I'm on the side of it's a culture thing. Yeah, I agree with you.
And you look at the players that they have in his squad, there's a lot of talent, obviously. There's Chelsea Football Club. They have a ton of money to spend. They've spent a ton of money. But you look through the squad and yeah, it's good, but it's not as good as it has been. There's no Lampard, there's no Drogba, there's no John Terry. I guess maybe Thiago Silva's that guy. Peter Cech, no Peter Cech in his team. Like the spine that like got them there forever. Like even obviously the players have moved on and not retired now, but like the form of those players is gone too. Like it's just not there at the moment. And to just blame it on Graham Potter after what, 10 games? Like it's ridiculous. Like at the end of the day, like it's January now. Graham Potter's going to have his input on transfers and stuff, or maybe he won't. Like, I don't know. One of them came in, João Felix. Apparently he's on loan now, right? Like Kai Havertz doesn't work. Why did you just go buy Kai Havertz again? Like, it's just kind of weird. Like stuff like that. I think Chelsea fans, for me, like you got to be patient the rest of this season. I get it. There's standards at certain clubs and Chelsea standards aren't mid-table. But you're going through a bit of a transition right now, and I guarantee you, in over the summer, Graham Potter's going to put his thumbprint on this team and like bring in the right guys to like identify what Chelsea Football Club is supposed to be about. I do think you've got to also like factor in some of the injuries they've had lately. Like Mendy's not playing. Defensively, Ben Chilwell never seems to be fit, so kind of say what you want there. Reece James, one of the best defenders in the league. Didn't even go to the World Cup. Fofana, you spent all that money on's gone. N'Golo and Conte. Like, come on. Like, one of the best midfielders to ever play in the Premier League isn't on your team right now. Sterling got hurt. Aubameyang, I said it when you signed him. He would never do anything for you. So that was a waste of money. But it's just like, yeah, like, I don't know. I think I think it's unfair to judge Potter so harshly at the moment, especially when you look when he started too. Like he came into this like pretty well. Let me pull it up here quickly.
Well, it's exactly it. Tuchel kind of had, remember when, I forget, was it Zagreb that Chelsea lost to in the Champions League? And then everyone was like, okay, they're not doing anything. Tuchel gets sacked. Graham Potter comes in. Chelsea starts winning in the Champions League.
They drew the first game against Salzburg. I think that was a late goal. 75th minute from Salzburg. You beat Crystal Palace. You beat AC Milan. Wolves win. AC Milan win. Aston Villa win. Chelsea draw against United. Beat Salzburg. Then, ironically enough, you lose to Brighton, which is kind of when it all went downhill for them. Since that loss to Brighton, they've only had one win in the Premier League. Granted, the World Cup has obviously come in between. But in that, though, they didn't score against Arsenal, didn't score against City, didn't score a goal against Newcastle, didn't score a goal against Villa. They've actually only scored, I didn't realize this until I'm reading it, in their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games, including the FA Cup game. There's a friendly in there. So 7 games, they've scored 3 goals. Which is kind of whack, actually.
Which is so confusing to me because why João Felix? And I'm not a hater on him. I'm waiting for him to show me what everyone from Benfica loved about him.
Yeah.
And I'm almost not buying this narrative that every team he goes to doesn't play the system that he plays in, because I'm sorry, when you're a professional athlete, it's not always going to be that way. Like you can't just have this red carpet laid out for you saying, okay, this team's going to play your system and João Felix is now set up to be the star. When you're a very good footballer, you will adapt to a position, to a system, to a coach, to a team, to new players around you. It may take some time, but you will eventually do it. And I think João Felix, it'll go one way or another for him. And I know that that's like very simply put, but he could go into this Chelsea team and make some magic and be kind of like this star player that fans love. Mm-hmm. Or he keeps doing kind of what I've seen him do at the World Cup, where he, for a player at his price point and a player of almost how much he's talked about, doesn't connect his passes the way I think he should, or have moments that I think he should. So, and again, I don't want to be shitting on him, but I wonder, how he's going to do with this Chelsea team. And is he the guy to turn it around for them? I don't know. I hope so, but I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. Like, eventually it comes down to the player. Yeah. Like, you've got to figure it out on your own as well. Like, this is, at Chelsea. And I guess my first point would be Chelsea just needed a straight up striker. Yeah. Someone who's going to go score some goals. Like, you look at what United's trying to do right now, sign in, what's his name? Verghurst or whatever his name is. Like, people like kind of criticizing that deal a lot. But when you look through what Ten Hag has done, like, that's his identity. Like, Huntelaar, Sebastian Haller, who's actually playing for Dortmund today after, because he got diagnosed with cancer, right? So he's finally back. So that's really good to see. There was a couple other players in there too. And it's that's Ten Hag's identity as a target man up front who actually has some skill, can run at defenders a little bit too and get in behind. Like, Chelsea just don't have anybody like that at the moment. And João Felix isn't going to do that for them. And the other thing I was just kind of thinking of as you were saying it, he was at Atletico Madrid, and obviously La Liga is a big league. I'm not denying that at all, but it's not as in the spotlight as what the Premier League is.
Yes.
Would it not have been more beneficial for João Felix to go and play it in a Serie A or something like that? Almost shelter him a little bit from the massive media. Obviously they get a lot of attention at those big clubs, and he would go to a big club if he went there. But it feels like this could really be do or die for his career, which is crazy to say because he's only 23, 24, whatever he is. But this is a big deal. This is a massive, massive club. And the Premier League is the biggest league in the world, arguably the biggest sports league in the world. And now all eyes are on him. On a team that is struggling massively.
And on a team where fans are very visibly frustrated.
Yep.
From the start of they had that, remember when that ref against, was it Tottenham? They
Taylor.
They had that petition go out for him never to ref games. And, now the coaching situation, you're right. The pressure that this guy has. And I would never want to see the downfall of a player. I hope he shines and he's the star of this Chelsea team. But I agree with you. Maybe Serie A was more of his vibe and the style of play maybe would have suited him more, but I do think he had a heavy price point. And you said Chelsea has money. Maybe this was a club that was willing to pay. I just think, it's kind of sink or swim for him.
Do you know what? There was actually something kind of wild. So Brett and I did a show on Friday, and we took a little bit of a trip down memory lane, and we looked at a lot of the January signings teams have made and stuff like that. And it was interesting just looking at Chelsea, what they're trying to do right now. If I can try and pull up the team here quickly, but they're trying to buy young. Like they're trying to really buy young players and build their way back up again. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was very interesting when you go back, and I understand this was under like a different regime in Abramovich and obviously different managers. It's not Todd Bowley, so clearly his image is a lot different, but it's interesting how they're doing that now when you consider the players they've sold in the past few years. Like Tammy Abraham's gone, Tomore's gone, Tariq Lamptey. I know he's not been fantastic for Brighton, but he was just at the World Cup with Ghana. Like I find it interesting that that's happening now. And as a Chelsea fan, it must be very frustrating to see that. Now you're spending 50 million on this kid from Aston Villa and 50 million from this kid on Malmo. And it's just like, but we just had all these players and now they're all gone because we didn't want them. And now we wanted to go and buy Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, Jorginho, like Koulibaly, all these guys who it's just like not working as well as it probably should be.
They're almost putting all their eggs in one basket and just praying for the best.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually think Todd Bowley is a good good owner in that sense right now for them, because this is his man in Potter. This is the first manager he's brought in under his regime as his hire, I guess. And I think he's going to be very patient with him. And actually, Pep Guardiola said something the other day. It's like Chelsea fans need to, paraphrase it a little bit, but basically said like, give him some time, because even Guardiola said, he's like, I got time, like kind of, I didn't need the time because I had Messi. Messi isn't on this Chelsea team, and now you need to give it to him because look what he did with Brighton.
You know what? I'm not on this train of like a manager needing to be sacked after 1 month of losing games. I mean, I do think that there's a point in time where change needs to happen. If you're not seeing any, not even progress, but if there's just like, that in the future things aren't going to change. I don't think Graham Potter's a manager that's just going to continuously sink.
Yeah, I agree.
Think again, like Pep is saying this. Klopp has said this. Some of the best managers in the world are backing this guy. This guy has something in his skill set to bring to Chelsea. He needs time. And again, I do think it's a culture thing. I think Chelsea needs to be injected with some serious energy and heart and motivation and determination that we're just not seeing. I mean, 4-1 to City. And we know City is such a great team, but it's unacceptable. Yeah,
it is. It is. Like you said, kind of off the bat, the standards for a team. One last message I would have to Chelsea fans is look at Mikel Arteta right now.
Yes, exactly.
Arsenal gave him time and they're saying pray 5 points up on the Premier League, on City. So also, 19 points ahead of you in the league table. Yeah. So there you go.
And also Ten Hag, man. I'm not his biggest fan, obvious reasons. I'm a loyal Ronaldo fan and I don't like how that whole situation was handled, but you got to give him credit.
He figured it out. Do you know they haven't lost back-to-back games since losing to Brighton and Brentford at the start of the season? Isn't that crazy?
It is wild, and like how everyone is kind of on the same level for him, and he takes no prisoners. And who was it? Rashford who like slept in?
Yeah, so Rashford missed a team meeting and he suspended him. Suspended him or disciplined him by starting him on the bench. And Rashford came on and scored the game winner against Wolves. So
honestly,
it's quite funny.
If it wasn't for the whole Ronaldo shit show, I'd be a big Ten Hag fan. I have a hard time. But
fair enough.
But you have to look at what he's. I mean, aren't they in fourth? United are in fourth right now.
They're in fourth and equal on points with Newcastle, and Newcastle played one more game.
Come on.
Yeah, like they.
And also crazy Europa League game we're about to get between Barcelona and United. Because Barcelona right now is at the top of La Liga and have conceded the least amount of goals in all of Europe's top 5 leagues with 6. I mean, what's happened?
Yeah. That's funny, that, isn't it? And then you go into the Champions League and they just got dismantled. It's just wild. I guess sometimes you just got to focus on one thing at a time. And it can derail you sometimes. But yeah, like, It is nuts because Real Madrid lost. Did you see Real Madrid actually had that thing the other day for the first time in club history? And I'm kind of curious what you would think about this too. It's the first time ever they've not had a Spaniard in their starting 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's interesting because, if you even think of like when they were the Galacticos, when they bought like Beckham and those guys, they still had Raul in the team, Mikel Salgado and those kind of guys. And now
so good.
Sergio Ramos was obviously there forever, but now that Spanish influence is, Casillas too, Spanish influence is kind of gone, and the Spanish national team has suffered because of it.
Isn't it wild how before the World Cup, things were so different? Like United was kind of in a place where it was super chaotic, and same with Barcelona. And it was like Ten Hag has a lot of work to do. Xavi's in the media for all the wrong reasons. And now here we are post World Cup, and Barcelona is like the best defensive team. United is, in an unbelievable spot in the table. And now they're both in the Europa League. Yeah. And they're taking each other on.
And Chelsea's in the Champions League.
Honest to God, what is happening? What I will say about Barcelona, though, and I'm happy for their team and I'm happy for their fans, I won't buy into this narrative and storyline until they make some noise outside of La Liga.
Of them being good?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see that until next year. I do think United will beat them.
I do too. And I stand by that. I stand by that because I said that before the World Cup. I need to see Barcelona do this outside of La Liga. I will be impressed if they don't concede a goal at Old Trafford. I'll be impressed if if Xavi and his men are able to take apart what Ten Hag and United are doing right now. But until then, they've always had these moments of like a really good streak or a really good run in La Liga, and everyone gets so excited. And then they play a Champions League game and what would now be a Europa League game, and they don't win.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just not buying it and I hope for them and their fans that, they do have success, but I'm just not buying it yet.
I think the biggest difference for me is, and I've said this before, that La Liga isn't that good anymore. It's kind of Real Madrid and Barcelona, and everyone else is just kind of around. Like, yeah, Atletico Madrid have the name value, but they're also fifth in La Liga right now. And what's that? They have 27 points and Barcelona has 41. Like, you look at the Premier League, United is in fourth place and they're 9 points behind the leaders, but only 4 points behind Man City in second. Like, it's just a more competitive league, and United is striving at the perfect point. And Barcelona, they obviously have fantastic players. I just think that'll kind of factor in a little bit. Is like, we already saw it in the Champions League. They got outclassed because they weren't as good as Bayern Munich and Inter Milan. Like, it's simple as that. So yeah, like I kind of agree. Like, I think Barcelona is on the rise in La Liga, but they've also got to prove it on the big stage, which I guess now is the second biggest stage in the Europa League.
I'm so excited to see what happens in the Champions League.
Yeah, I kind of just forgot. I kind of just blew that whole month of the World Cup, just erased everything that had happened. Honestly, like you said, like there was all this shambles in United and Barcelona before the World Cup. Like PSG was kind of going through some stuff with the players, which seems so irrelevant now. Like Chelsea, I'm sure they were like fifth after the World, like when the break was kind of going on. Like now here we are, and it's just like, wow.
Even Tottenham's dropped.
Yeah.
And your team, Newcastle, look at them.
Thriving. One loss. I don't know. They need to actually turn some of those draws into wins. I'm just kind of like, so that draw against Arsenal was good, but the draw against Leeds, I'm not really about that. So we'll see. There was that whole rumor about them getting Ronaldo, actually. Did you hear about that one?
Newcastle.
Yeah.
Is it if they go to the Champions League?
Yeah. So Eddie Howe pretty much just shot that down immediately. Like, that would be the most wild thing to have in a contract. Like, hey, if this team in this other league is really good this season, then we'll just let you go there. It just seems really weird. I don't know. It's just such a random release clause.
At that point, Ronaldo would truly own the sport. Like, if that happened, you would say, like, this guy has so much power. We were just talking about it off the show. He goes into his new club, and there's obviously this rule where, if you're not married, you can't stay in the same household or something along those lines. And obviously, Ronaldo and his girlfriend are not married, but they have given him like this
like special grant, essentially.
Which I'm like, think about the power this man holds to be able to do that.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It is wild. I saw his house that he's staying in.
I haven't seen anything yet.
Oh my goodness. It's
crazy.
It's bigger than any house. Like all the houses I've lived in about 50, it feels like. It's bigger than all of them combined. And it's just that, like, in Saudi Arabia, or like even those just like Middle Eastern countries, the thing that always kind of blows my mind is just like how big the buildings are there. It's like a competition to who can build the biggest building, and they're always cool shapes. Have you ever seen Fast and Furious?
Yep.
Like, when they like fly across.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is absolutely, obviously that didn't happen, but it's still crazy that they just build these buildings identical. But yeah, it's the Saudi Arabia thing is going to be very interesting. I've been kind of trying to think about it in an open mind, and I understand the political stuff behind it, and that's obviously not good. But like on the football side of things, is this not like a similar move to what David Beckham did to Galaxy, in the sense of like he's just trying to like grow the sport in a different way of things? And like originally when I did think of it, I just thought, oh, he's just going for the money. But my dad actually kind of talked me out of it a little bit, being like, well, maybe he's just trying to like grow the game in different ways. And like Saudi Arabia, like they didn't get out of the World Cup round to the round of 16, but like it's a big tournament for them, and now they've got one of the best players to ever walk on this earth in their country playing football. Like hopefully it kind of works out. And
think about what happened at the World Cup for the Arab countries and the African countries. Like even just Ronaldo joining Al Nassr, their social media following skyrocketed in like days.
Jersey sales, I bet, have gone through the roof.
So I think more people, especially after what Morocco did, Saudi Arabia did, I think more people are going to be maybe tuning in to these Arab countries and what's going on in these leagues. And now Ronaldo going there even more is going to bring eyeballs to the leagues. I'm going to be completely honest. I've never watched Al Nassr play a game.
I've never heard of him.
I'm the biggest Ronaldo fan. Will I be watching? Absolutely. Will I be keeping up? Absolutely. So it's very cool to see, again, his power and kind of the impact he has. And I just think, again, what Renard did with Saudi Arabia at the World Cup and how they beat Argentina and Morocco and the incredible run they had. I think a lot more people are going to be more interested in the talent that these countries have. And hopefully now their leagues grow. I mean, it's so good for the sport of football. And I don't blame Ronaldo for taking that paycheck. We didn't blame Casemiro for doing that when he went to United. He's obviously going to be retiring at some point sooner rather than later. And of course, you want to take care of yourself and your family. So he did what he did. And I'm kind of excited to see where this goes. It just kind of adds another flavor to what we get to talk about now. Yeah, it's going to be different not to see it. Like, I thought the interesting thing was the fact that like he was talking about Champions League so much and I never got it. So that was kind of like an interesting wrinkle for me. I guess just on Al Nassr, I was just looking through the squad. They actually have like a couple of players that people would know, like David Ospina, who was the Arsenal goalkeeper and with Colombia at the 2014 and 2010 World Cup. I think he was at both of them. And also, I'm going to butcher his name, but the Cameroonian striker who got sent off at the World Cup, Vincent Abu Bakar, I believe. I am so bad with names. On the show on Friday, I was like reading out these names and I literally would just point to Brett. I was like, what's this guy called who did this and this? And he'd be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, thanks, Brett. See you later. I would carry on with my little spiel, but he's there. He's been there all season, 13 goals in 39 games. Sorry, he joined there last season too. So like me, I'll have to look through the teams, but there must be like some players over there playing. Like, I just hope this doesn't turn into like what the Chinese league experiment was when they got like Oscar and Hulk, and there was a few other players I went to and it just failed miserably. Like the Saudi Arabian, I believe it's called the Saudi Arabian Pro League, like I said, needs to find a way to get these games in like mainstream media some way or another. I agree.
Ronaldo's got to help that, but like maybe Fubo or like a streaming service like that like picks them up. Because how else are we going to watch, right? That'd be a shame. That'd be such a shame. You're absolutely right. I didn't even think about that. That'd be such a shame if the only way we could watch is YouTube highlights. Yeah. So they would have to figure something out on that sense of things. But yeah, it's an interesting time not to have Ronaldo in Europe anymore. I've seen so many, people say, what else does he have to accomplish in Europe? I kind of agree with that. He's accomplished so much in Europe. So this is like a whole different world for him. And why not? Yeah. So I think he has a 2-year contract, which would put him at 2025. I think he'll come to the MLS after that. It's like a build up to the World Cup. So yeah. Did we have Roberto Martinez on our list today? Yeah, we sure do. That's a perfect transition. Yeah, there we go. We've had 2 pods. Why? Honest to God. I want to know who in the Portuguese Football Federation thought this was the choice and like their rationale behind it. It feels so lazy. Like it feels perfect. Was so lazy just to hire a guy that is like, no disrespect to Martinez. Like he had a great run at Everton and club football with Swansea and Wigan too. But like for Belgium, like, is he not the biggest disappointment.
Oh.
Like, I know they went to a World Cup semi-final and everything, but like, a team should have probably won the World Cup. And they ran into the team, obviously France, who went to win it, but it's just like, really? Like, this is your guy. You've just gone through all these issues of like, your manager isn't doing the right things in certain aspects, and you're failing in tournaments. Like, Portugal should have done way better at the World Cup. And now all of a sudden you're just hiring almost the same manager. Like, I don't know tactically how similar they are, but like, yeah, I don't know. Like, there was rumors of Jose Mourinho, and now you're going with Roberto Martinez. Like, I don't know. It just seems lazy to me. I don't really have like much bigger take on it, but yeah, I feel like the Portuguese FA could have just done much, much better.
So much better. And you talk about disappointments. The first line in my notes, in my opinion, Belgium was the most disappointing team at the World Cup.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you had storylines of teammates fighting each other and Kevin De Bruyne going to the media saying that this team won't win a World Cup because they're too old. And I understand that Martinez can't control what grown men say and do.
Yeah.
However, with those storylines and how poorly they performed at the World Cup, not getting out of that group stage, he lost the plot with this team. He lost the locker room, and that's very clear. So now you have this Portuguese team who's probably the most talented generational team right now that we're looking at. I mean, Rafael Leao, then we have Ramos, and we have that Mendes kid. These are all players who are in their 20s, early 20s. And you're bringing in Martinez, who did nothing with a golden generation with Belgium, to lead this team, hopefully a team that could win the Euro. I'm just wondering, these young generational talents deserve more. And I maybe I'm wrong about Martinez. I want to be wrong because I want to see this Portuguese team flourish. I think that anyone is an upgrade from Fernando Santos, but it's really not that much of an upgrade, because what the hell has Martinez done with this Belgium team that should have won? They had never won a major tournament. And that's mind-blowing. You have Kevin De Bruyne, Hazard, amongst many others. Lukaku, exactly. Yeah. Like, it's just so confusing to me. I don't understand the rationale. I don't understand why someone said, hey, Martinez had a shit World Cup with Belgium, and let's promote him essentially to take this Portugal team to the promised land at the Euro. The lines do not connect. It makes no sense.
Yeah. Like you said, like, there's so much talent on this Portuguese team, and you just don't want to see it wasted. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I would have liked to have seen like the other candidates on the list and been like, okay, yeah, maybe he was actually better than most of these guys. But if that's so, then you should fire the man who's making your lists, because you got to find better candidates if this guy's your top dog. So we'll see. Like, it's what's Portugal 2024 is the next Euro. Sorry. So yeah, that'll kind of be the thing, right? Like, that's going to be what he's got to accomplish. And yeah, I'm sure Ronaldo's going to have some things to say when he gets to camp and see what happens.
Well, it's funny you speak about that, because I guess the media asked Martinez if they want to include Ronaldo on the national team. And he said, Ronaldo deserves respect after 19 years as a part of the national team. We're going to speak about that together soon. So I appreciate that from Martinez. I don't like how the World Cup ended for him. I do not agree with Fernando Santos and how he played him against Morocco. I made that clear in our post-World Cup recap. I think Ronaldo deserved way more, and I think that the game could have looked different because Ronaldo was the most impacting player when he came on, and I just don't think he had enough time. But I think that Martinez needs to find a way to bring Ronaldo into this team, respect Ronaldo, but also build on this young talent. Like, this Portuguese team, with the talent that they have, should have done so much better at the World Cup.
Yeah.
So much better. And if they don't perform at the Euro, whoever made the call to bring Martinez in, again, I don't want to be so mean to Martinez. It's just, to me, it makes no sense.
So I searched Roberto Martinez to kind of get some reaction on what people think. And somebody put Roberto Martinez being allowed to manage back-to-back golden generations is like Pete. He's essentially like Pete Davidson.
I know. What a pop culture reference. I love that.
So there you go. We got Pete Davidson.
Maybe
it's going
to be peak comedy.
Yeah,
right.
It truly could be. Like, even like some of the players who are older in the team, like Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, like, this team is absolutely nuts. And yeah, like, he's got a task on his hands. Can he do it? I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. Like, maybe his voice just got too much in that Belgium locker room and they just had enough. Like, yeah, it's about the leaders on the team. And I think the Portuguese team actually did a good job of not involving themselves in the Ronaldo stuff.
I agree.
So that to me does show a good group of leadership. I think the unsuccessful tournament of the World Cup did come down to management more than anything. So maybe this is a good change for them. Maybe Martinez will figure it out, or maybe the players are just too good not to have it.
I hope I'm wrong. And it'd be, I don't want to see any coach or player not succeed. So hopefully he's successful in this job, and maybe we revisit this conversation in a year and say, wow, what Martinez has done with these star players and kind of integrating the young players with the veterans has been amazing. But yeah, right now, I don't think we're alone in being slightly confused.
No, me neither. And let us know what you think of this move too.
Did you hear Zinedine Zidane turned down a U.S. men's national team job?
I did not, but did you hear the drama around the U.S. men's national team?
With Berhalter?
And Claudio Reyna? That was his name.
Yeah, with
Gio's dad.
And mom, apparently.
Yeah, so...
I know. Honestly, insane. I missed so much, and the stuff that I missed is like my favorite stuff. It's like the pop culture drama. Yeah, it's like a soap opera.
It was nuts, and... So basically, for people who don't know, which I think most of you probably, I think a lot of our listeners are in the US. So hey,
what's up, guys?
Yeah, thanks for listening to our one Bearhalter episode and subscribe.
We'll clip this for them on YouTube in a little segment.
Yeah. So essentially, what I picked up from it was like Claudio Reyna was like texting and basically trying to blackmail Bearhalter to play Gio Reyna more at the World Cup because of something that happened like 25 years ago, which was essentially. Berhalter was 18 and his now current wife and him were dating back then. And they were in like an argument. I guess he kicked her. Oh. So not ideal, obviously. And it got figured out. The two of them sorted out themselves. And he said since then it's been a loving relationship and we've come past it and I've grown as a person. So essentially that was what Claudio Reyna was trying to blackmail him with. And it's just like, what the hell is going on? Like how your son is at the World Cup and you're texting the manager. This is not U12 football anymore. Like absolutely insane that would happen. So I think Berhalter is now on some kind of suspension to investigate to see if this has ever happened since then too. So just kind of wild times there. But yeah, the fact Zidane has denied the job now too is just how big is this job?
Yeah. So it is all so wild, but apparently Zidane is the one who the U.S. men's national team program, which I love that they shot for
shoot for the stars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that they did that. Zidane was the one who turned it down, but I would have loved to see him take this job. One, because there's going to be, obviously the World Cup's going to be in the U.S., right? Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming the majority of the games are probably going to be in the U.S. This U.S. team has so much young talent. Like we saw that. I do think Berhalter deserves credit to getting them to a certain extent at the World Cup. But I do question why he didn't bring on Reyna, and then especially when they were playing, the Netherlands and Van Gaal kind of basically outcoached him. Berhalter was lost. He was like a lost puppy in that game. And having Zidane come in and coach this US team, I think could have been just so iconic for so many reasons. And he could have done so much with the pool of players that this US team has. Again, so many young freaking players on this squad that are so good. I would have loved to see it, but apparently he doesn't speak English, and he said that he's not going to coach a team.
Zidane doesn't speak English?
I was shocked to hear that too. I heard that on ESPN FC.
Huh. I guess that kind of makes sense. When he never played in England, so he probably speaks Spanish, Italian, and French, I would guess. Yeah, good for the US for trying to biggest guy on the list, better than Portugal. Geez Louise. So yeah, that's good. For me, Berhalter did a very good job at the World Cup up until the Holland game.
I agree. The
runway it's gone. You've hit the roadblock now, and I think it is time to move on and say thank you, Greg. We'll see you later. Back to the MLS for you. So yeah, like you said, this team has a lot of talent on it, and a lot of talent that shows a lot of pride to play on that US team. And it's funny, isn't it? Because the US men's national team, to put it bluntly, has not done anything really on the World Cup stage, but they think they are a massive Association, which is like credit to them. Like you gotta have confidence to perform, and when they go to these tournaments, they have high expectations for themselves. And I think from an Englishman's perspective, like when we go to these tournaments, fans have high expectations. I don't know if the players truly believe they can do it, but when the US play, it kind of feels like they think they can beat anyone in the world. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. I'm curious to see then who's gonna be the manager.
I agree.
I don't think it'll be an American-born manager. I think they will go out and find a big European guy, because I think that's what sells.
Mourinho to the US. Yeah. Oh my God, that'd be unreal.
That'd be nuts. But stars sell in the US. Whatever you are, whatever you're famous for, like that's what sells tickets there. So I think that's what the US want to see, is the biggest ticket on the block playing in Hollywood or wherever the US team plays.
I think the future of the sport of football in the US is so massive, because these fans, and like you talk about their football association, their soccer association, thinking they're so grand. I kind of love that, because they know how much their fans are obsessed with the sport. And again, I always go back to the story when the US men's team failed to qualify for the 2018 World Cup, and Josie Altidore and Michael Bradley were booed by American fans in every single MLS game they played. And I'm like, I felt bad for Josie and Michael, but I'm at the same time, it made me realize how much these fans freaking care. And I'm like, this is North America.
Yeah.
So it's so cool to see this US men's program, which I think that they dropped the ball prior to the World Cup with Berhalter. Now shoot for the stars with Zidane and try and get him on board. And now I hope that they still have these high caliber managers in their mind to come and coach this team, because I hope after the World Cup, the one thing that they were left with in their mind saying, we have a lot of young guys on this team that can, like Tyler Adams for me was incredible, to potentially do something when we host the World Cup. Like they have all kind of like the players and keys. It's just a matter of now putting the right people in the right positions to help this team succeed. Yeah.
And that's going to be the biggest task for them. But yeah, I'm trying to think of managers who could like be the next manager of the US team, like Carlo Ancelotti.
It'd be sick.
It'd be crazy. So yeah, I think that's what they're laying for. But like you said, Tyler Adams was unreal at the World Cup. Hopefully he can kind of keep that form in the Premier League for Leeds, and Leeds can stay up. Brett and I did a lot of predictions on who was going to go down, and neither of us said Leeds. So
there you go.
Up the Leeds.
Apparently Zidane turned down Brazil too, which to me would have also been another crazy team for him to coach. But I'm trying, like I was thinking like what would make him turn down these offers if it's true. Again, these are like rumors. And I think he was really gunning for the French job. And we know that Deschamps got his extension now until 2026. Obviously, been managing this side for a very, very long time. Won the World Cup in 2018, 2021 Nations League, reached the final of the 2016 Euro, and then obviously the most recent World Cup here in 2022. I think a lot of people wanted to see Zidane coach this side for many reasons. He's French. He's an icon. He's won, 3 Champions League in a row with Real Madrid. I think that these young guys on France would be like starstruck to see Zidane coach them. But then the drama with France, it blows my mind. Like how much has come out after the World Cup with Deschamps and Benzema, and apparently like Giroud and a couple other guys saying they didn't want Benzema on the team, and Benzema apparently like being okay to play, but France was like, no. Deschamps basically sent him home. Like who knows what's true?
Yeah.
But then you have the French president of like their football association say that if Zidane had called him for this job, he wouldn't have even picked up the phone, which I find so disrespectful. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Well, the French team is kind of, when it doesn't go their way, there's a lot of noise.
So I'm like blown away.
Yeah. Like I think it was a 2010 World Cup where I can't remember who it was. It might have been like Patrice Evra and somebody else was like essentially sent home from the World Cup. Like it might have even been Benzema, to be honest, because Benzema was also essentially banned from the squad for a while, and there's a couple other guys, and it's just like, yeah, like if it doesn't go their way, like they get very upset about it and grow up.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like you're some of the best footballers in the world. You're one of the best teams we've ever seen at the World Cup, and this is how you're kind of going to be recognized for it. It just seems wrong, I guess you could say. But even like you kind of think about it, like going into the World Cup, like I don't know if there was a lot of noise, but like they weren't in like great form, and then basically Mbappe dragged them most of the way, right?
that's what I've been thinking about this. And I'm like, you don't fix what's not broken. And this French team got to a World Cup final and came back. But at some point you also have to think like Mbappe came back.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a full picture of like this French team putting together a performance in the second half and in overtime that really got them into penalties. It was Mbappe at halftime, which we've all heard his speech by now.
Yeah.
And Mbappe scoring, a World Cup hat trick and 4 penalties.
Yeah.
Or was it 3 penalties? I don't even know what my brain is saying right now.
He scored 4 goals at 2 penalties.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So it's just mind blowing to me that, this happens with the French Football Association. They're such a good team. Deschamps has an extension to 2026. He's done so much for this club, but then they disrespect Zidane like this. And then even Mbappe tweeted, which Mbappe is one of my favorite people to follow on Twitter right now because this guy doesn't care. He wrote, Zidane is France. We don't disrespect the legend like that. Like, that probably stirs up some chaos on the team because you're like, how can you support our football association when an idol, I'm sure for Mbappe, because Mbappe is a young guy, he grew up watching Zidane and he's like, how the hell are we disrespecting him like that?
Yeah, it is a weird thing to kind of to do. Like he's Zidane. Like it's not like he's just some guy who they're kind of pulling off the street, so who's never managed before or anything like that. Like you said, like he had all that success at Real Madrid and he's been kind of waiting on the sidelines for this job. And for me, like, I think Deschamps should have gone. I think he's kind of like he's the same with Greg Berhalter. Like, how is this team going to get any further than what they have?
It's perfectly said. And as you say it, I completely agree because I think he's reached the end. Like, he's accomplished a lot. So and I don't know, like, how much more there is to accomplish for him. Yeah.
And, like, you even look at the Euros. Like, they weren't very good at the Euros. And then you had the World Cup. And basically, Mbappe showed up. And Griezmann played really well for them, too. But, like, just... You look at the games, like they were down against Australia and had to pick it up. Who else did they play in that group? Poland. Was it Poland?
Yeah.
Tunisia. No, it wasn't Poland.
Poland was round of 16.
Denmark. That's who it was.
They did well,
who were just kind of a disappointment. And then, even the England game, like, I don't want to say they got lucky and that's not what I'm trying to say, but like England probably could have come away with that game. And then you're out in the quarterfinals. Obviously, that didn't happen and you make it to the final, but then you beat a Morocco team, which 2 other teams before you should have probably beat too. And then if it wasn't for Mbappe, you would have lost that final 2-0.
Well, that ref also in the England game, I don't like saying everything's on, but that ref was heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy on Francis. That guy was wearing a French jersey underneath his referee jersey.
Someone might check some bank statements.
Honestly.
See the last time we made a bet on a football match. But
that must have been such a stressful game for you to watch.
It was over Christmas, I was down in Calgary at my girlfriend's sister's house, and her husband showed me a picture of me I was stood up. I stood up for the whole game. Aww. I had my foot on the table, and I just had a Bud Light in my hand, and the Bud Light was like, it wasn't a form of a can anymore. It was just like gripped so hard. And I just remember, like, I didn't remember doing that, but like those cans weren't empty. Like they were pretty much full. And I was just like holding them. And it just got like more and more crushed as it got on. I was like, oh my goodness. Like I'm going to lose my mind. So you were stressed,
dehydrated, and
everything.
Yeah, it was all in one.
I needed a nap after basically.
Yeah, no, that was a crazy
roller
game.
Coaster.
We'll wrap up this episode talking about Gareth Bale and even Loris, their retirement that they announced.
Lloris was just international, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Gareth Bale, I feel like our generation knows how incredible he was. But these up and coming, the Gen Zers, they'll never understand because he's retiring at 33 and he hasn't, in the most recent years, made too much noise. But I was reading some stats. Listen to this. Gareth Bale at Real Madrid has more trophies than Zidane, more assists than Beckham, and more goals than the original Brazilian Ronaldo. That's wild.
He was, like I'm just looking here, and he's such an interesting player because people call him like the greatest British player ever, which I don't really know what that means. Like, is that just a way for Welsh fans to kind of get one up on English and the Scottish and stuff? Like, I'm not denying he wasn't a fantastic footballer, but I've just never really heard that for anybody else before. So who was it before Gareth Bale is my question. Like, what are the rankings here? But anyway, like he showed up in big moments for them, like that Champions League final against Liverpool.
The bicycle kick.
Holy smokes. And I'll never forget that goal he scored against Inter Milan too. I think it was for Tottenham.
Yep.
And he just absolutely bodied Maicon, who at the time was at like the peak of his game.
So good.
And then all of a sudden, like he's just like 33 years old, won an MLS Cup with Los Angeles, and now he's just done. Like, I find it so strange. I think this is 100% on his terms.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it's not that he didn't want, that teams didn't want him. I just don't know if he wanted it.
Well, 5 Champions League titles. He scored his first ever World Cup goal and Wales's first World Cup goal in 64 years when they played the US at the World Cup. What else is there for him to do? If he wants to retire at a young 33, which I still don't even think is like, it's young for us, but when you've been playing a sport your whole life, your body's tired. He wants to retire on a high note and he doesn't feel like there's anything more he wants to give to the sport. He's done so freaking much. Like,
yeah. It was so much money too. Because that's essentially why he didn't leave Real Madrid, is because nobody could afford to pay his wages. So yeah, like he's saying pretty. This must have just kind of been the goal in a sense the whole time of like getting Wales to a World Cup. And then from that point on, just kind of not worrying about what comes next and just getting to that point and then thinking about it. And like you said, like he did everything. Wales went to a semi-final of the Euros. With like, that's absolutely insane to even think about. Like, so that was 2016, I think that was. If you had asked me in 2006 if Wales would even get to a Euro, I would have probably said no. But he helped that turn that entire country around of like 3 million people, I think it is, and just changed the football there. And what was that flag he had once? Wasn't it like Wales Golf Madrid or something like that? Oh man, that was funny. But yeah, he just played on his terms and he was legit for a long time.
And gave us iconic moments.
Yeah, and I think that's how great footballers will be remembered.
Yeah, I agree.
Like David Beckham, he left England like relatively early, but people are always going to remember that goal he scored from the halfway line or that iconic free kick against Greece and just like so many other moments. Wayne Rooney, again, career kind of ended early, but no one's ever going to forget that bicycle kick he scored against Manchester City. And I think that's the moments you kind of got to embrace a little bit as a football fan. Like, yeah, like that was unbelievable. I'll remember that forever. And yeah, like Bale has those moments and yeah, great career.
I agree. 111 caps for his country, 41 goals. He's kind of done it all. And yeah, I enjoyed watching him play. I really did. I always was fascinated by him. So I don't blame him for retiring. Go live your life, man. You got the money. Now you can relax, spend time with his family.
Yeah.
Football world's like sending their love to him because, again, the people who grew up watching some of the stuff he did, you know that he was, again, I think good for really iconic moments, which isn't easy to do.
No, it's not. And yeah, that's what people will remember. And yeah,
Loris retires international football, been to 4 World Cups, 2 World Cup finals, and has 1 World Cup with 145 caps. Also really impressive.
4 World Cups. I think friends missed a World Cup too. So I wonder if that was 2006 or 2010. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, like
it was crazy.
Great career.
Yeah.
I think it's a good time for him to kind of call it a day, especially with all that stuff that's going on with France. So yeah, like he was legit for them. He won a World Cup, like you said. Like he showed up in big moments. He was around. So he's the most capped player, I believe, in French history.
I believe that.
And the most games at our World Cup by a French bloom too. So
crazy.
Legend.
Crazy how much stuff has happened. Honestly, the drama.
Yeah.
This is this year, like, and I know we talk a little bit even about, but like this season of football, I guess we can call it, has been some of the most chaotic, dramatic, unexpected stuff we've ever seen.
Because the big clubs are back. The big clubs are back. Arsenal's kicking it back at the top. AC Milan and Inter Milan are both relevant again. Like the Bundesliga is relevant as a whole again. And then even Barcelona, I guess, to a sense, are like on the rise too. Like, we just need a little bit more from Ligue 1 and we'll be good. But PSG definitely provides a lot of drama, so we should be fine there.
I'm so excited to see how we felt prior to the Champions League, prior to the World Cup about the Champions League, if this is how it's going to kind of play out now in February. Or if we're completely like, feel like we're watching different teams. Can Bayern Munich keep it going? What's PSG going to do? Chelsea, like it's just going to be so wild to see Real Madrid's kind of fallen off they're not falling off, but they're not leading La Liga anymore. But can they win the Champions League? It's just so crazy. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's football's back.
Football's back, baby.